Good day everyone, I'll be tackling about the primitive communism and egalitarian society. So this is Roxanne Mar. So before we start on our topic, we need to define what is primitive communism. So primitive communism refers to the collective right to basic resources. It is the absence of hereditary status or authoritarian rule and the egalitarian relationships that preceded exploitation and economic stratification in human history. So, primitive communism is a way of describing the gift economies of hunter-gatherers throughout history, where resources and property handled and gathered are shared with all members of a group in accordance with individual needs. So, here is the origin of social communism. Communism is a political system that comes from the Latin meaning communis, which means common or universal. It is a movement whose ultimate goal is to establish a communist society, or it can be an economic ideology that advocates for a classless society in which all property and wealth are commonly owned instead of by individuals. Next is the history of primitive communism. So the history of primitive communism comes from Karl Marx and Engels, who was inspired by Lewis Henry Morgan's description of communism in living. The evolutionary history of Lewis was transformed by Engels with the idea into an evolutionary theory with the publication of the original of the family in 1884. Marx and Engels expanded the use of communism to include not only hunters and gatherers, but also subsistence agricultural communities. So these are the characteristics of primitive communism. So first is full democracy. This is because about all members of the society had to make decisions to arrive at a solution regardless of their sexes. So in this era, all people have the right to give opinion or idea whether they are female or male. Next is lack of specialization. This is because all people in the society are supposed to do all jobs together. Jobs include tool making, gathering fruits, preparing shelter, and hunting. In this matter, all gender can do their job. It may be a woman or a man, for they think it is right and just. So next is the absence of exploitation. So it means the communal societies has neither exploiters or exploited. In the primitive communism, no one will be exploited nor become an exploiter. So next is shifting cultivation, which means that the same plots of land are not cultivated for long and the cultivators move from one plot to another. So next is hunting and gathering. Hunting-gathering societies hunt animals and gather plants as their means of survival. Due to the limited sources of food, men were hunting and women were gathering. Next is no economic surplus. All production was for keeping members of the societies alive on a daily basis. So it means they only focus on what they garnered for a day so that all the people is low level of development. So because of there's no surplus, there will be no increase of level of development. Next is no private ownership. So no private ownership of means of production that such as land, tools, and weapons belong to the community. So all of the houses, land will belong to all people. Property. So there's no concept of ownership with an individual position. So all the people or tribe living in the community shares everything in order to ensure its survival. The evolution of primitive communism. So due to the evolution, the rise of social class society has changed the human history, wherein humans have moved from a society of equality and communal living one characterized by oppression and exploitation. Marxist theory of primitive communism. Karl Marx in 19th century observed the existing capitalist system being used as a tool by the bourgeois to enslave the working class or proletariat. He also said that capitalism contributed to the degradation of society and needed to be replaced. He also proposed that the traditional hunters and gatherers were based on egalitarian social relations and common ownership. He also wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. So there are two social class in communism, which is the working class and the capitalists. So first is the working class. So it consists of the workmen and laborers who are exploited by their capitalist bosses. So which means that these people are the one who works under with a boss. The next one is the capitalists, or also known as the bourgeois. They just profit from the work of their employees and are seen as the enemies of the working class. They're the one who handed the job to the working class, or they will be known as the boss of the working class. So here are the four perceived benefits of communism. First is that communist society promotes the equality of all people. So in this matter, all people or every individual has the right to do what they like. For all citizens are equal and there's no numerous conflict such as shortage or war. For classes doesn't exist in communist society. The next one is to eliminate child labor and encourage education for everyone. So every child is entitled to take education and everyone have the opportunity or have a chance to take education. So the third one is support the lack of competition. So due to the originates belief of equality to everyone, competition doesn't exist. And lastly is support the rule of the worker. So although communism doesn't support private industry, it supports the rule of the worker, wherein everyone is given a job. So next will be the definition of egalitarian society. So egalitarian society is one in which there are many positions of prestige in any given age, sex, and grade. There are persons capable of happiness. An egalitarian society is one where every person is entitled to equal rights, receive equal treatment and opportunities.
So next is the origin of egalitarian society.
So the origin of egalitarian comes from egalitarianism from French, which means égal or means equal, or equalitarianism is a school of thought that prioritizes equality for all, no matter what kind of statuses they have in the society or community. So next is the economic figure in egalitarian society. So first is pastoralism. It refers to owning domesticated animals for production or transportation. It is a form of animal husbandry where domesticated animals, known as livestock, are released into large vegetated outdoor lands for grazing. And the cold person who breed is pastoralist. Next is generosity. Refers to displaying kindness through throwing fists, giving gifts, self-searched depreciation, distributing resources. It can be of being kind and generous, or the quality or fact of being plentiful or large. So next is technology. It refers to demonstrating a proficiency in specialized manufacturing of tools. It is also called machinery and equipment developed from the application of scientific knowledge. One of example is computers. So the next one is hunting. It refers to demonstrated competence in hunting by reliably providing protein from wild game for distribution. It is also a search determined for someone or something. Or can be the activity of hunting wild animals or game, especially for food or sport. So the next one is exchange. It refers to maintaining exchange relationship with kin, friends, or allies. It is also an act of giving one thing and receiving another in return. Example, a gift. So the next one is wealth. Refers to culturally specific luxury goods such as rare or liquidable assets. It can be an abundance of valuable possessions or money. Example, lands, house, etc. So next is horticulture, which refers to success in growing food, producing surpluses of staple crops, consistently yielding good harvests. It is also the art or practice of gardening and cultivating plants and trees. For example, when you grow lilac bushes and pond. Here is the political feature in egalitarian society. First is the geographic knowledge. It refers to knowing the homeland while being able to protect or identify resources. It is also a collected information describing the natural and human environment of Earth. So one of the examples is data models that provide structure to the data. So the next one is kinship marriage. Refers to maintaining kin alliances, the ability to influence and organize distant kin, supporting extended kin in single household marriage. So for example, if you live in a society that chooses kinship patrimonially, cousins from your father's brother or sister will be forbidden as marriage partners, but cousins from your mother's brothers or sister might be considered excellent marriage partners. So the next one is oratory skill. Refer to being able to organize a large group or individual under a common goal. It is very important if you have the oratory skill to connect with your audience. That way, you're making a smooth connection with many members of the audience and they perceive you as confident, trustworthy, and knowledgeable. So next is dispute settlement. It refers to the ability to resolve conflicts, including miming and comedy to display tension, meditating fair discourse between individuals. One of the examples of dispute is when you question whether a claim is true, or when you try to win a tennis match so that you will become the leader. And lastly is the warfare. It refers to being a natural leader in battle, displaying courage in the battlefield. It can also be military operation between enemies, or fake an activity undertaken by a political unit to weaken or destroy another economic warfare. So there are three ritual features of egalitarian society. So the first one is augury. It refers to being able to predict events or catastrophe, and it also the ability to interpret dreams and the foreseeing the future and foreseeing the success. For an example, if there's a storm coming in July 17th, that's an augury. So the second one is shamanism. It refers to successfully healing deceased individuals, possessions of supernatural spirits, application of medicinal plants or magical surgery. So it is also a religious practice that involves a practitioner who is believed to interact with the spirit world. So the goal of the shaman is usually to direct the spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world for healing or another purpose. And lastly is the ceremony. It refers to displaying ritual leadership or experience, completion of initiating ceremonies associated with puberty of age sex requirement. It also means the formal activities conducted on some solemn or important public or state occasion. Next will be the three personality features of egalitarian society. The first is self-control. Refers to maintaining reservation and control through tense situation. ability to manage your action, feelings, and emotion. For an example, if you are having an argument, you remain calm so that you will not get angry. Next is the aggressiveness. Refers to the ability to express opinions, ideals vehemently when necessary, and being able to express discontent without reservation. So, an example of aggressiveness is a football player who uses all his will so that he could win. And lastly is the intelligence. It refers to being quick-witted and able to make good decisions on the spot. For an example, a student is being asked by a teacher to answer question number 4, and he or she directly answers it without confusion. And lastly, for our topic is the modern egalitarianism theory. So, modern egalitarianism theory is a theory that rejects the classic definition of egalitarianism as a possible achievement economically, politically, and socially. So, modern egalitarianism theory or new egalitarianism outlines that if everyone had the same opportunity cost, then there will be no comparative advances and no one will gain from trading with each other. So, thank you for listening and I hope you learned something from it. This is Roxanne, your doctor.